Hey guys, I'm Brianna. Welcome back to my channel. Before we get into this review, go ahead and hit that like button, and if you like other bookish videos, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to hit the bell so you will be notified when I upload other videos like this. Alright guys, so today we're going to be reviewing Sword of Storms, which is the third installment in A Song of Ice and Fire by George R.R. Martin. And make sure you stick around because at the end I will be choosing my next 3 reads for my TBR jar. I'm going to try really hard to stay spoiler free, but there may be some spoilers at the end of this video, and I will be sure to let you know when I'm about to talk about those in case you haven't seen the show or read the books. So like I said, this is the third installment in A Song of Ice and Fire, and I have read the first 2. I have also watched the TV show, or most of it. I think I'm on season 5, but everything that I have seen in the show is still going on in this book. So this is the blurb from Goodreads that I'm going to be reading to you because I have the Bantam leatherbound edition of these books and they don't have the blurbs on the books. So it's a gorgeous edition, but there's no blurbs there. But if you've seen the show or if you've read them yourself, you'll kind of have an idea because this book takes place during the War of the 5 Kings. So this is what the blurb on Goodreads says. Of the 5 contenders for power, one is dead, another in disfavor, and still the wars rage as alliances are made and broken. Joffrey sits on the Iron Throne, the uneasy ruler of the 7 kingdoms. His most bitter rival, Lord Stannis, stands defeated and disgraced, victim of the sorceress who holds him in her thrall. Young Robb still rules the north from the fortress of Riverrun. Meanwhile, making her way across a blood-drenched continent is the exiled queen Daenerys, mistress of the only 3 dragons still left in the world. And as opposing forces maneuver for the final showdown, an army of barbaric wildlings arrives from the outermost limits of civilization, accompanied by a horde of mythical others, a supernatural army of the living dead whose animated corpses are unstoppable. As the future of the land hangs in the balance, no one will rest until the 7 kingdoms have exploded in a veritable storm of swords. ... So we're going to talk about this book in several different areas. My overall score for this book, I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. Overall, I really enjoyed it. I will say that I seemed to do better reading it when I was listening to it on Audible and following along. For me, that just seems to be a technique that works really well to get through books that seem to drag on. So for me, it really didn't feel like it drug on. I know I've read other reviews where people said it got a little dry kind of toward the beginning and the middle and then picked up toward the end for them, but I thought that it was full of action all the way throughout. Of course it could have been because I was listening to it on Audible as well, and the narrator was really good. He definitely did a great job of changing his voice to match the characters, and it just fit the style of the book, which I thought was great. So characters. This is the 3rd book in the series, so we know the characters pretty well. As you could tell from the blurb, Joffrey is king. He is probably my most disliked character in the entire series. Not a fan of Joffrey at all. But I do feel like he is a product of his environment. It didn't help that he has Cersei as his mother. Just gonna lay that one out there. We also have chapters from the perspective of many different characters. That's how these books are written. So each chapter is from a different character's perspective, and it alternates throughout the story to kind of help the story move along. So we have chapters from many characters. Some of the most common ones, there were chapters from Jon Snow's perspective, from Lady Catelyn, from Arya, from Davos Seaworth, Samuel Tarly, Daenerys, of course, Daenerys. So character-wise, I just think that George R.R. Martin does a wonderful job of character building, morally great characters, and I just found that refreshing, especially even with Jon Snow, who tends to be more of a hero, in a sense. A lot of times they talk about Ned Stark and his honor throughout the series, and Jon being Ned's son kind of takes on that characteristic. So Jon Snow is on the wall, and he is kind of making his place there, and then he is sent on this mission to go and infiltrate the wildlings, and in the process falls in love with Ygritte, who is a wildling woman, and he ends up breaking his vows with her. So he has this internal battle between being in love with her and breaking his vows, and also still wanting to be loyal to the Night's Watch. So it's kind of refreshing to see him kind of battle within himself as a morally gray character. And then we also get a little bit more into Stannis Baratheon and his conquest to becoming king of all 7 kingdoms. And there's just a lot that goes on in this story, so it's a lot to talk about. It really is. So as far as characters, I would give it a 5 out of 5. I think the characters were wonderful, and it's definitely, I feel like, even though there's a lot of action in this book, I do still feel like it's very character driven. On to plot, which we've kind of talked about a little bit already. It was very fast paced. I felt like there were a few slow parts, but it was very fast paced. Oh, there were also chapters by Jaime Lannister too, which was very interesting. Especially, I feel like he definitely transforms throughout the story from the beginning to the end. And it's interesting to kind of see his thoughts about things. Oh, there's chapters by Tyrion too. I totally missed that. So there's chapters from the perspective of both Jaime Lannister and Tyrion Lannister as well. Tyrion is always one of my favorite characters. I know that he's also a very morally gray character, but his sarcasm and his intelligence just draws me in, so I do enjoy reading from his perspective. I also enjoy reading from Daenerys' perspective and kind of her on a mission to make her name known in this world that she belongs to, and trying to get to Westeros so that she can take the Iron Throne, which she feels is rightfully hers. And that doesn't really happen in this book, which I kind of thought that it would move a little faster than that on her front. But kind of in the process, she gets swept up into politics in the Free Cities, and starts kind of taking over the cities and freeing all of the slaves, and she kind of makes that her mission. So that's pretty much what she's doing throughout the entire book. So I'm hoping that the next book will develop her story a little bit more, and maybe we will see her as she travels to Westeros. As far as being like the TV show, so I actually read the TV show before I read these books, and like I said, I haven't seen all of the TV show, so I'm sure some of you are sitting here watching this and you're like, she has no idea what happens at the end. Well, no, I really don't know what happens at the end. You can probably tell that in what I'm saying. But without knowing what happens toward the end, I am on season 5, or the show seems to stick very closely to the books, which is really cool. I don't know if I have ever read a book that the adaptation sticks so closely to, and it's kind of amazing. Sometimes I will catch myself reading these books, reading this book in particular, and I'm like, whoa, they actually made that happen in the show, like exactly as it happened in the book, down to the very words that the character said. Right now we have 2 more books left of this series, and then I know that George R.R. Martin is working on a 6th book, and I'm pretty excited about that. I don't know if I will get through the next 2 books before that comes out, but eventually I hope to do that. Now let's get into the part where there are spoilers. So if you have not watched the TV show or you have not read the books, do not listen any further. This is probably where you want to jump off this video. I get excited about finding differences between books and TV shows or movies, and seeing if I can spot the differences. And it was very hard to spot the differences, but there are a few differences and a few similarities that I want to bring to your attention. So let's talk about similarities first. So one of the best scenes that I read in this book that was almost exactly as it was portrayed in the TV show, so the TV show did an excellent job of sticking to the true story, was the scene where Tyrion actually kills Shay and kills Tywin Lannister. So that was pretty cool. Let's see, another one is when the Mountain kills Oberyn Martell in the battle for Tyrion's innocence. That one was really close to what actually happened. Pretty much all of the deaths that happened were pretty close. I will say that it seemed to be that the show did a great job of making sure that all of the big important events from the series were included in the show, and anything that they changed or left out was very minor. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the differences that I saw. One of the differences between the book and the TV show is that at one point Dario Naharis dyes his hair purple and his beard purple. That never happens in the show. That was pretty interesting, but definitely a minor little detail. Also, Sandor Clegane, the Hound, has Arya, and he dies. I mean, I guess he dies. It doesn't really actually come out and say that he's dying, but he asks Arya to kill him. So in the show, that happens after he and Brienne of Tarth have kind of battled it out of who's going to take Arya. But in the book, he never battles Brienne of Tarth, which I thought was kind of interesting. So that was another big difference that I picked up on. I think that's that. If you have read the book and seen the TV show, I would love to hear your thoughts of what you thought were similar or different. But be careful of spoilers in the comments below, because I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't read it. This is a really great series. I really enjoyed reading it. I am excited to read more, but I'm also excited to switch it up after I've spent so long on this book and read something a little different. Alright, so now it is time for me to choose my next 3 reads for my TBR jar, which I have here. And I've only gotten to use this jar a couple of times this year so far, because I've pretty much had planned out what I want to read next, or I've been challenged by somebody else to read a book that I hadn't read yet. So I'm at the point where I don't know what to read next. And this jar contains all of the books that I currently own that I have not read yet. And we're going to reach into there and we're going to draw out my next 3 reads. Mix it up. It's been a while. Oh, there's probably dust flying out of it. Woo! Dust. Alright, here we go. Book 1 is gonna be the first book. Oh, let's dig down. There's so many pieces of paper. Alright. The first book that I'm gonna read is, ooh, can you see it? There it is. The book I'm gonna be reading is the Book of Umber. I was not expecting that one, but it looks good. I made a mistake. The first one's not called the Book of Umber. It's called the Books of Umber. And this is book 1 in that series by P.W. Katniss. And it is called, the actual title of this one is Happenstance Found. I think this is a Goodwill pickup for me a while back. So I've had it on my shelf for a while, so I'm excited I finally get to read it. So I'm going to read the blurb because I don't even remember what it's about. It says, who or what is Happenstance? 12-year-old Happenstance awakens in a cave with no memory of who he is. Soon a mysterious trio arrives. Lord Umber, the shy archer, Sophie, and Oates. Hap and his new acquaintances narrowly escape the cavernous underworld and make their way to the dazzling port city of Curahaven, where Lord Umber is revered as an adventurer, royal advisor, and a chronicler of all things monstrous and magical. But Lord Umber is much more than that. Like Hap, he's a stranger from another world, a world only he can save from extinction. It turns out Hap is essential to Umber's mission, if only they can figure out why and survive a threat from a supernatural assassin. That sounds pretty good. The second book that I'm going to read is... Oh, I'm picking out a lot. It's like overflowing. I dug all the way to the bottom. Oh, here we go. Blade of Secrets. I'm so happy about that one. This one makes me really happy. Blade of Secrets is a book that I actually just got in the May Beacon book box. And I've really been wanting to read that one. So I'm excited that's going to be one of my next 3 books. Secrets that I got in the May Beacon book box. And I've actually already read this blurb in another video, and I will link that above so that you can watch that video and hear the blurb of that one. But it's basically about a girl who is a blacksmith and creates a pretty magical sword, and there ends up being a bunch of adventure around that. I'm really excited that I drew that one out of my jar. All right, and then book number 3. Here we go. Let's dig. How about that one? Where did I put my finger on? I have no idea. Oh, and it is Never After. All 3 of those I'm actually really excited about reading. This is Never After. This is also a middle grade book that I've been wanting to read for a while. I love any kind of fairy tale retellings. I think that's what this is, so I'm going to read that one as well. It says, nothing ever happens in Philomena Jefferson Cho's small California town. The sun shines every day, the grass is always green, and while her school swears there's no bullying, she knows firsthand that isn't true. But one day, when she's walking home from her favorite bookstore, something strange occurs. Philomena is being followed by Jack Stalker, one of the heroes in Never After, a book series she loves. She must be dreaming or still reading, but Jack is insistent. He's real, the stories are real, and Philomena must come at once. Soon she is thrust into a world of fairies and princesses, sorcerers and slayers, where an evil queen drives her army to erase the fairy tribes. To save the kingdom, Philomena must find the truth behind the tale of the 13th fairy before the cycle of destruction begins again. So I absolutely love Chris Colfer's Land of Story series. I read all of those last school year after being introduced to them by one of my students. And I just loved them so much that I ended up buying a whole set of them myself. This reminds me very much of those books. So I really feel like I'm going to enjoy this one. So there they are, my next three reads. I can't wait to do reviews on them for you all. Definitely check back. I hope you enjoyed this video and the review of Storm of Swords, and also drawing out my next three reads for my TBR jar. If you like other videos like this, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!